Now this is the first diagram, and it shows roughly what has been happening in New Zealand over the last 30 years. How can A sell to dead B? This is, say, a 30-year period. And we're dealing here with a population that grew slowly up to 4 million, which we have today in New Zealand. And we're likely in the future to grow to, say, 5. On current trends. But when I was a schoolboy in 1965, I could look forward to a period in which the population of New Zealand would have been 8 million, going on for 16 or 12 or something like that by the time of my death, say at 80. So by now we could have had 8 million people based on the birth rates of 1965. Perfectly ordinary, perfectly normal at the time birth rates of 1965. We would have had 8 million people. And by the time of my death at 80, say, we would have had 16 or 12 million people. And we're going to have a huge absence, a statistical absence of many more people than we actually have. And this is New Zealand. This curve here is so flat, it is almost like zero population growth rate. The thing is, with zero population growth rate, is that basically if you have sufficient houses here for 4 million people, you have quite sufficient houses for 4 million people here, and you have a gentle curve going to 5. It's only through the splitting up of households, through divorce and separation, that we've had any extra requirement, real extra requirement for houses. This is human tragedy. We cannot base a future on human tragedy, and this is insufficient to sustain a building industry. Building just 1 million houses, or the housing for just 1 million people. You know, about 300,000 houses over 30 years, Prime Minister. How much of a housing building industry is that? It's nothing. It's nothing at all. When we coped back here with moving in a 30-year period from 1 to 2 million people, or from 1.5 million people to 3 million people. We had 1.5 million people on a much lower population. 400,000 houses over 30 years. We were better off in the past. And that as it is with houses, so it is with all other basic human necessary commodities. The lot. How can you have real growth with real productivity and real manufacturing when you just don't have enough people to sell into? I call this the deadbeat generation, and it outnumbers the living. Over 60 years, from 5, we have 7 million people missing. Prime Minister, I call this whole area here statistical genocide, and I want to see some accountability for it, because it's the reason why our economy must collapse, as I will show in other diagrams.